Admiral Steve Collins stood on the bridge of the UEC Titan as the human fleet dropped out of hyperspace. Before them lay Zentaros Prime, the capital world of the Galactic Empire. The planet was massive, covered in gleaming cities that housed billions of aliens. Around it, the largest fleet in galactic history waited for battle. "Sweet Mother of Earth," whispered his tactical officer, Carl Wright. "Sir, I count over 300 Imperial ships, every type, every class." They brought everything they had. Steve nodded calmly. The Empire had gathered ships from across the galaxy. Massive dreadnoughts, fast cruisers, fighter carriers, and support vessels. It was an impressive sight. It was also exactly what humanity had hoped for. "Carl, they made a mistake," Steve said. "They put all their ships in one place. When we win this battle, we win the entire war." The Imperial fleet began moving toward the human ships. Admiral Vexstar was leading them personally, flying his flag from the largest dreadnought ever built. The alien commanders expected this to be the final battle. They planned to crush the human rebellion and then destroy Earth as an example to other worlds. "Admiral Collins," came Admiral Wells' voice over the communication system, "you are authorized to begin the final phase of Operation Freedom." Steve smiled. Operation Freedom was humanity's master plan. For 50 years, humans had studied every conquered species in the Empire. They had learned about rebellions that had failed and resistance movements that had been crushed. Most importantly, they had learned how to win. "All ships," Steve announced. "This is Admiral Collins. Today we fight not just for Earth, but for every enslaved species in the galaxy. Today we end 1,000 years of Imperial tyranny. All ships, engage at will." The battle began with a massive exchange of fire. The Imperial fleet shot first, sending thousands of energy beams across space. But when their weapons hit the human ships, something unexpected happened. The beams were absorbed by the human shields and converted into power for their own weapons. "Sir," Carl reported with excitement, "our energy absorption systems are working perfectly. They're literally powering our guns with their attacks." This was humanity's greatest technological achievement. While other species had built stronger shields or bigger weapons, humans had learned to turn enemy fire into their own strength. Every shot the aliens fired made the human fleet more powerful. Steve's flagship, the UEC Titan, charged toward the center of the Imperial formation. Behind it, 46 other human ships followed in perfect coordination. They moved like a school of fish, each ship knowing exactly where the others would be. The Imperial ships tried to respond, but they were too slow. Their commanders had spent centuries fighting primitive enemies who used simple tactics. They had never faced an opponent who could think faster, move quicker, and hit harder than they could. Colonel Rachel Stone led the first wave of Marine boarding parties. Her target was the Imperial Palace on Zentaros Prime. While the space battle raged overhead, Rachel's transports slipped through the planet's defenses using captured Imperial identification codes. "Remember," Rachel told her troops as they prepared, "to land, we're not here to conquer. We're here to liberate. The Imperial ruling council must be captured alive so they can stand trial for their crimes." Rachel's Marines were not ordinary soldiers. They had been trained to fight in any environment against any enemy. More importantly, they were volunteers who had grown up hearing stories about Imperial cruelty. They knew what happened to species that opposed the Empire. The transports landed in the capital city of Zentaros Prime. Imperial guards rushed to stop them, but the aliens were not prepared for human tactics. Rachel's Marines moved in small teams, using advanced weapons and superior training to outfight forces 10 times their size. "Team Alpha, secure the communication center," Rachel ordered over her radio. "Team Beta, take the power station. Team Gamma, with me to the palace." The Imperial Palace was a massive structure made of crystal and metal. It had stood for thousands of years as a symbol of alien power. Today, it would fall to human determination. Rachel's team moved through the palace corridors like ghosts. There, armor made them nearly invisible to Imperial sensors. Their weapons could punch through any alien defense. Most importantly, their training made them unstoppable. In the palace throne room, the Imperial ruling council waited in fear. 3 species had ruled the galaxy together for a millennium. Vexstar represented the militaristic Korthic. Quindle spoke for the technological Zephyrians. Malfara was the voice of the psychic Valdoni. "This cannot be happening," Quindle said, his blue skin pale with terror. "Humans are primitive. They cannot defeat the Empire." "They have already defeated us," Malfara replied sadly. "I can see. The future now. The age of the Empire is over. A new time begins." The throne room doors exploded inward. Rachel Stone walked through the smoke with her weapon ready. Behind her, a dozen human Marines took positions around the room. "Imperial Council," Rachel announced, "you are under arrest for crimes against sentient life. You will be taken to Earth to stand trial for genocide, slavery, and the destruction of entire species." The 3 alien leaders looked at the human soldiers in shock. These were supposed to be primitive beings, barely more intelligent than animals. Instead, they saw professional warriors who had just conquered the greatest empire in galactic history. In space above the planet, the battle was ending. The Imperial fleet, once the terror of the galaxy, was in full retreat. Human ships pursued the fleeing aliens, capturing vessels and freeing the slaves found aboard them. Steve Collins watched the last Imperial Dreadnought surrender. The mighty ship that had once led the conquest of a dozen worlds was now a prisoner of the species it had planned to enslave. "Sir," Carl reported, "Admiral Wells is requesting a direct communication link." President Helen Rogers appeared on the main screen. She was standing in the throne room of the Imperial Palace, with the captured alien leaders behind her. The sight was broadcast across the galaxy, showing every enslaved species that the Empire had finally fallen. "People of the galaxy," Helen began, "for 1,000 years the Empire has ruled through fear and oppression. They have enslaved entire worlds and destroyed countless species. Today that tyranny ends." Helen turned to face the camera directly. "Humanity does not seek to replace one empire with another. We offer something different. We offer freedom. Every enslaved species will be liberated. Every conquered world will be returned to its people. We will help you rebuild what the Empire destroyed." The broadcast continued as Helen announced the formation of the Galactic Federation, a new government based on cooperation instead of conquest. Every species would have an equal voice. No one would be enslaved or conquered. 6 months later, Captain Joe Clark stood in the first human embassy on the planet Zarian. This world had been conquered by the Empire 300 years ago. Its people, tall humanoids with green skin and 4 arms, had been used as slave labor in Imperial factories. "Ambassador Clark," said the Zarian leader, Talmara, "our people cannot thank humanity enough. We had given up hope of ever being free." Joe smiled. "Talmara, freedom is not something we give you. It's something you already had. The Empire just tried to take it away." Outside the embassy, Zarian children played in the streets for the first time in centuries. Imperial slave camps had been torn down and replaced with schools and hospitals. The planet's factories now belonged to its people, instead of alien masters. Joe watched the children play and thought about how much the galaxy had changed. Where once there had been fear and oppression, now there was hope and cooperation. Dozens of species were working together to build something better than the Empire had ever been. In the distance, Joe could see the U East Titan orbiting the planet. The massive warship was no longer hidden or disguised. It flew openly as a symbol of protection for all free peoples. Its presence reminded everyone that humanity would not allow another empire to rise from the ashes of the old one. The ship's crew was also changing. Human officers worked alongside aliens from dozens of different worlds. Former slaves were learning to be soldiers, defending the freedom they had never expected to have. "Sir," said his aide, Lieutenant Susan Brooks, "we're receiving reports from across the galaxy. The Liberation fleets have freed over 200 worlds in the past 6 months. The Federation Council is requesting more human ships to help with the rebuilding efforts." Joe nodded. Humanity had revealed its greatest secret to the galaxy, but it had also revealed something more important. They had shown that strength without compassion was worthless. The Empire had been strong, but it had used that strength to oppress others. Humanity was strong too, but they used their strength to protect the weak. "Susan, send a message to Earth," Joe said. "Tell them we need more ships, more supplies, and more people. We have a galaxy to rebuild." As the sun set on Zarian, Joe thought about the future. Humanity had spent 50 years pretending to be weak while growing strong. Now they would spend the next 50 years helping other species do the same thing. The age of empires was over. The age of cooperation had begun. The hidden Dreadnought had left the galaxy speechless. But more importantly, it had given the galaxy something to hope for again. Fleet Admiral Dan Carter stood on the bridge of the U.E.'s Hammer and watched the stars change. The human fleet was traveling through hyperspace toward the Centauri system. 47 ships moved together through the twisted space between dimensions. They were no longer running or hiding. They were hunters stalking their prey. "Admiral," said his navigation officer Bobby Taylor, "we'll reach Centauri in 6 hours. Long-range sensors show massive Imperial fleet movements in that system." Don nodded. The aliens were gathering every ship they could find. They wanted to crush humanity before the rebellion could spread to other worlds. What they did not know was that humans had been planning for this moment for decades. "Bobby, set course for the outer edge of the system," Dan ordered. "We'll hit their supply lines first. Cut off their fuel and ammunition before we face their main fleet." This was human strategy at its best. While aliens preferred big battles with lots of ships, humans used smaller attacks to weaken their enemies first. They would strike fast, hit important targets, and disappear before the enemy could respond. Captain Mary Phillips received her orders. While her ship, the U.E.'s Shadow, traveled through hyperspace. Her mission was to attack Proxima Station, the Empire's main communication hub in this part of the galaxy. If she could destroy it, the Imperial fleet would be blind and deaf. "Captain," said her first officer, George Mills, "intelligence reports show Proxima Station is heavily defended. At least 12 ships and orbital defense platforms." Mary smiled. "Good. That means it's important. The more they defend it, the more damage we'll do by destroying it." Mary's ship was special. The U.E.'s Shadow was built for stealth missions. Its hull was covered with materials that absorbed sensor beams. Its engines produced almost no heat signature. The ship could get close to enemy targets without being detected. "George, prepare the stealth systems," Mary ordered. "We're going to sneak right up to their front door." The Shadow dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Proxima system. Immediately, its stealth systems activated. To Imperial sensors, the ship simply vanished. It became invisible, a ghost moving through space. Mary guided her ship toward Proxima Station. The station was huge, bigger than a small moon. Thousands of Imperial personnel worked there. Massive communication arrays sent messages across the galaxy. If this station went dark, the Empire would lose contact with half their fleet. "Captain," whispered her sensor officer, Kate Lee, "I'm detecting the defense fleet." 12 ships, just like intelligence said. They're patrolling in standard Imperial formation. Mary studied the tactical display. The Imperial ships moved in. Predictable patterns. They had been at peace for so long that they had forgotten how to really fight. Their formations were pretty, but useless against a real enemy. Kate, target the communication arrays first, Mary said. Then hit their power generators. I want this station completely dead. The shadow moved closer to Proxima Station. Imperial ships passed within a few hundred meters, but their sensors could not detect the human vessel. The aliens' technology was advanced, but it was not designed to find ships that did not want to be found. Firing, Kate announced softly. The Shadow's weapons were different from other human ships. Instead of big plasma cannons, it carried precision laser systems. These weapons could cut through specific targets without causing massive explosions. They were perfect for surgical strikes. The first laser beam struck Proxima Station's main communication array. The massive dish crumpled and went dark. The second beam hit a power generator. Lights began going out all across the station. Direct hits, Kate reported. Station is losing power and communication capability. Now came the hard part. The Imperial Defense Fleet had noticed something was wrong. Ships began moving toward the station, searching for the attacker. But they could not see the shadow. Captain, George said, they're starting random weapon sweeps. They're trying to hit us by luck. Mary watched as Imperial ships fired their energy weapons in all directions. They were hoping to hit the invisible attacker by accident. It was a desperate tactic that showed how confused they were. Take us out of here, Mary ordered. Mission accomplished. The shadow slipped away from Proxima Station as quietly as it had arrived. Behind it, the station went completely dark. The Empire's main communication hub in this sector was dead. Meanwhile, Commander Alex Turner was leading a boarding party onto a captured Imperial supply ship. His team had disabled the alien vessel with precision strikes. Now they were taking it apart to learn its secrets. Careful with those data cores, Alex told his technicians. We need that information intact. Alex's team moved through the alien ship like professional thieves. They knew exactly what to look for. Computer systems, weapon designs, navigation data, personnel files. Everything that could help humanity understand the Empire better. The Imperial crew had been taken prisoner without a fight. They were so shocked by humanity's advanced technology that they offered no resistance. These aliens had never seen humans as a real threat. Now they were learning how wrong they had been. Commander, said his computer expert, Frank Wilson, you need to see this. Alex looked at Frank's portable display. The screen showed Imperial military plans that made his blood run cold. The Empire had not planned to just collect tribute from Earth. They had planned to enslave the entire human race. Look at this document, Frank said, pointing to the screen. It's called Project Human Harvest. They were going to use us as slave labor in their deep space mines. They were also planning to breed us like animals to create different types of workers. Alex felt anger burning in his chest. The Empire had never seen humans as people. To them, humanity was just another resource to be used and discarded. The aliens had planned to turn Earth into a breeding farm for slaves. Frank, copy everything, Alex ordered. Every file, every plan, every piece of data. The people of Earth need to know what these aliens really intended for us. As Frank worked, Alex explored more of the captured ship. In the cargo hold, he found something that made him sick. Cages. Hundreds of small cages designed to hold prisoners. The ship had been used to transport slaves from conquered worlds. My God, Alex whispered. How many species have they done this to? Intelligence Officer Kate Morgan was asking the same question in another part of the galaxy. Her ship, the UE Seeker, had captured an Imperial database ship. The vessel contained records from across the Empire. What Kate found in those records changed everything. "Captain Morris," Kate called to her commander, "you need to see this. The Empire has conquered 47 different species in the last 1,000 years. They've enslaved billions of people." Captain Jim Morris looked at the data on Kate's screen. Species after species had been conquered using the same method. The Empire would arrive claiming to offer protection and technology. Once the locals trusted them, the aliens would slowly increase their demands until the entire planet was under Imperial control. "Kate, how many of these conquered species are still alive?" Jim asked. Kate checked the records. "About half, sir. The other half were worked to death in the mines or used as soldiers in Imperial expansion wars." Earth was just the newest target. Jim felt sick. The Empire was not just a government. It was a galaxy-spanning machine designed to consume entire civilizations. They had perfected the art of conquest over centuries. "Kate, send this data to Admiral." "Wells on Earth," Jim ordered. "She needs to know what we're really fighting against." Back in the Centauri system, the Imperial fleet was gathering. Admiral Vexstar stood on his new flagship and watched ships arrive from across the galaxy. Korthic warships, Zephyrian technology vessels, and Valdoni mind control ships. 200 vessels in total, the largest fleet ever assembled. But Vexstar was worried. His telepathic advisor, Malthara, was still unable to read human thoughts. His technology expert, Quindle, could not understand how human weapons worked. The Empire's advantages were useless against these strange creatures from Earth. "Admiral," Quindle reported, "we're losing contact with our outer stations. Proxima Station went dark an hour ago. The supply depot at Rigel is not responding. Something is picking off our support systems." Vexstar growled in frustration. The humans were not fighting like civilized beings. Instead of meeting the Imperial fleet in honorable battle, they were attacking like space pirates. They hit important targets and disappeared before reinforcements could arrive. "Sir," Malthara said in her musical voice, "I sense great danger approaching. The humans are not what we thought they were. They are hunters, and we have become their prey." Vexstar wanted to dismiss her fears, but he could not. In 3 days, the humans had destroyed or captured 20 Imperial ships. They had knocked out communication stations, supply depots, and sensor networks. The mighty Imperial fleet was being slowly blinded and starved. "All ships," Vexstar ordered, "form defensive formation around Centauri Prime. We will make our stand here." But even as he gave the order, Vexstar knew something had changed in the galaxy. The Empire had always been the hunter. They had conquered world after world, species after species. Now, for the first time in 1,000 years, they were. The ones being hunted and the hunters were coming. 3 days after the battle, Tony Rodriguez stood in the engine room of the U-East Titan. Around him, massive machines hummed with power. These were not the primitive engines the aliens expected humans to have. These were fusion reactors, smaller and more efficient than anything in the Imperial fleet. "Chief Rodriguez," came a voice over the intercom, "we need more power to the main guns. The fleet is moving out in 1 hour." Tony smiled and adjusted the controls. "No problem, Commander. These babies can give you twice what the aliens' engines can produce." Tony was proud of his work. He had spent 20 years perfecting these power systems. While the Empire thought humans were using coal and oil, Tony and his team had been building the most advanced engines in the galaxy. They had studied captured alien technology and made it better. The fusion reactors were just the beginning. Tony walked to another section of the engine room. Here, quantum computers managed the ship's systems. These computers were faster than Zephyrian technology. They could calculate hyperspace jumps, target enemy ships, and manage thousands of systems at the same time. "Sir," said his assistant, Eddie Clark, The new weapons are online. The plasma cannons are ready for testing. Tony nodded. The plasma cannons were his greatest achievement. Imperial ships used energy weapons that were powerful but wasteful. Human plasma cannons used less energy but hit harder. They could punch through any armor in the known galaxy. Meanwhile, in space near Jupiter, Colonel Beth Adams led her fighter squadron on a training mission. Her ship was small and fast. It looked nothing like the heavy Imperial fighters. While alien ships were built for straight-line speed and heavy armor, human fighters were built for agility. "Okay, people," Beth said over the radio, "let's show our new pilots what these birds can do." Beth's fighter dove toward Jupiter's largest moon. Behind her, 6 other pilots followed in perfect formation. These were not ordinary human pilots. They had been trained since childhood in Earth's different gravity fields. Some had grown up on the moon, others on Mars. Their bodies were adapted to handle extreme maneuvers that would kill normal humans. Beth pulled her fighter into a spin that would have torn apart an Imperial ship. The human craft handled it easily. These fighters were built using materials from Earth's oceans. Scientists had studied shark skin and dolphin bodies to create hulls that moved through space like fish through water. "Watch this," Beth said. She aimed at a practice target and fired. Her fighter's weapons were small but deadly. Instead of big energy cannons, human fighters used rapid-fire plasma bursts. They could hit multiple targets quickly and accurately. In the old days, one Imperial fighter could destroy 10 human ships. Now, one human fighter could destroy 10 Imperial ships. Back on Earth, Dr. Nick Thompson watched the space battle reports from his laboratory. Nick was Earth's top computer expert. His job was to break into alien computer systems and steal their secrets. "How are our cyber attacks working?" asked his assistant, Linda Parker. Nick grinned. "Better than we hoped. The aliens have no idea how to defend against our viruses. The Empire used psychic communication for most of their data transfer. The Valdoni could send thoughts directly from mind to mind. They had never needed to build strong computer defenses against digital attacks. Human hackers could walk right into their systems without being detected." "Look at this," Nick said, pointing to his screen. "I just downloaded the complete Imperial Fleet Deployment Database. I know where every ship in the galaxy is located." Linda whistled in amazement. "That's incredible. How did you get past their security?" "What security?" Nick laughed. "They don't have any. They think telepathy is more secure than digital encryption. They never expected anyone to use computers to attack them." Nick's work was giving human commanders a huge advantage. While Imperial admirals had to guess where human ships were, human admirals knew exactly where every alien vessel was located. In space, the human fleet was moving toward the edge of the solar system. They were hunting the remaining Imperial ships that had escaped the first battle. Commander Pete Jackson led a group of destroyers toward Pluto, where sensors had detected alien ships hiding. Pete's ship, the UES Liberty, was fast and deadly. It had been disguised as a cargo hauler for 30 years. Now it showed its true nature. The Liberty could outrun any Imperial ship and hit harder than vessels twice its size. "Contact ahead," reported his sensor officer, Julie Watson. 3 Imperial cruisers, trying to hide behind Pluto's moon. Pete nodded. "They're probably calling for reinforcements. We need to stop them before help arrives." The Liberty accelerated toward the enemy ships. Pete's vessel could move faster than the aliens thought possible. Human engineers had perfected gravity manipulation technology. They could make their ships lighter or heavier at will. This let them turn sharper, accelerate faster, and stop quicker than any Imperial vessel. "Sir," Julie said, "the alien ships are powering up weapons. They're moving to intercept us." "Good," Pete said. "Let them come." The Imperial cruisers moved to attack. They were big ships with heavy armor and powerful guns. In the old days, 3 cruisers could have destroyed an entire human fleet. But these were not the old days. Pete's destroyer opened fire first. Its plasma cannons sent streams of energy across space. The beams struck the lead Imperial cruiser and cut through its shields like they were made of glass. The alien ship's hull began to glow and melt under the intense heat. The Imperial ships fired back. Their energy weapons were strong, but they moved too slowly. Pete's ship danced around the incoming fire like a butterfly avoiding a swatter. The alien gunners could not keep up with the human vessel's movements. "Julie, target their engines," Pete ordered. "I want them alive so we can question them." Julie locked onto the enemy ship's power systems. Human targeting computers were more accurate than Imperial systems. They could hit specific parts of a ship instead of just blasting holes in the hull. The U's Liberty fired again. This time, its beams struck the alien's engine sections. The Imperial cruisers went dark as their power systems failed. They were still alive, but they could not move or fight. "Sir," Julie reported, "all 3 ships are disabled. They're sending surrender signals." Pete smiled. "Good. Send boarding parties to secure them. And Julie, make sure our computer experts download everything from their databases." This was how humans were winning the war. They were not just defeating Imperial ships in battle. They were capturing alien technology and learning Imperial secrets. Every victory made humanity stronger. And Smarter got back on the UES Titan. Jake Morrison received reports from all over the solar system. Human ships were winning every battle. Imperial forces were retreating from Earth's space. For the first time in 50 years, humans were free from alien control. "Commander," Amy Foster said from her station, "we're getting a transmission from Admiral Wells on Earth." Karen Wells appeared on the main screen. Behind her, the hidden command center was busy with activity. Officers and technicians worked at hundreds of stations, coordinating the largest military operation in human history. "Jake," Karen said, "it's time for the next phase. Our scouts report that the Imperial fleet is regrouping at the Centauri system. They're calling in reinforcements from across the galaxy." Jake nodded. "How many ships are we talking about, Admiral?" "At least 200, Karen replied. "Maybe more. They're bringing everything they have." Jake felt his heart beat faster. 200 ships was more than the entire human fleet. But he was not worried. Human ships were better than Imperial vessels. Human crews were better trained. And humans had something the aliens did not have: the element of surprise. "Admiral," Jake said, "give us the order, and we'll take the fight to them." Karen smiled. "That's exactly what I wanted to hear. Jake, take the fleet to Centauri. Show the galaxy that humans are not victims anymore. Show them that we are the hunters now." The transmission ended. Jake turned to his crew. Around him, men and women prepared for the biggest battle in human history. They were no longer pretending to be weak. They were no longer hiding their true strength. "All hands," Jake announced over the ship's intercom. "This is your commander. In 1 hour, we jump to hyperspace. We're going to meet the Imperial fleet at Centauri. We're going to show them what happens when you threaten Earth." Throughout the ship, cheers echoed in the corridors. After 50 years of lies and deception, humanity was finally going to war. The asteroid began to crack open like a giant egg. Admiral Vexstar watched from his command ship as the rock split apart in impossible ways. Inside the asteroid, something huge was moving. Something that should not exist. "What is that?" Vexstar growled at his crew. "Scan that asteroid immediately." His tactical officer, a tall blue alien named Quindal, worked frantically at his controls. The Zephyrians were supposed to be the smartest race in the Empire. They built all the computers and sensors. But now Quindle looked confused and scared. "Admiral, I'm reading massive energy signatures," Quindle said. "But that's impossible. Our scans yesterday showed nothing but rock and ice. The asteroid continued to break apart. Huge pieces of fake stone fell away into space." What emerged? From inside made Vextar's 4 eyes widen in shock. It was a warship, a human warship, and it was bigger than anything in the Imperial fleet. The ship was sleek and dark. Its hull gleamed like black metal. Rows of weapon ports lined its sides. Energy shields shimmered around it like heat waves. This was not the work of primitive humans. This was advanced technology that rivaled the Empire's best ships. "Sir," Quindle whispered, "that ship is reading is more powerful than our Dreadnought. How is that possible?" Before Vextar could answer, more asteroids began opening throughout the system. One by one, human ships emerged from their hiding places. Destroyers, cruisers, fighters, and support vessels. An entire fleet had been hidden right under the Empire's nose. On board the UES Titan, Admiral Karen Wells watched the transformation. Through her command screen, she was still on Earth, but she could see everything happening in space. Around her, the hidden command center buzzed with activity. "All ships report ready, Admiral," said her aide, Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Murphy. "Project Deception is complete. 47 vessels are now active and awaiting orders." Karen smiled. For 50 years, she had dreamed of this moment. Every mining station in the outer system had been in disguise. Every cargo freighter had been a warship in hiding. Every research outpost had been a military base. "Ryan, open channels to all fleet commanders," Karen said. "Yes, ma'am." "You're connected." Karen spoke clearly and calmly. "This is Admiral Wells to all ships. For 50 years, we have lived a lie. We have pretended to be weak while we grew strong. We have pretended to be primitive while we learned their technology. Today, the lie ends. Today, we show the galaxy who we really are." Throughout the solar system, human commanders received their orders. Captain Lisa Barnes took control of a heavy cruiser that had been disguised as a fuel depot. Commander Pete Jackson found himself commanding a destroyer that had pretended to be a communications relay. Colonel Beth Adams launched her fighter squadron from what the aliens thought was a weather monitoring station. Back on the Imperial flagship, chaos was spreading. Malthara, a Valdoni psychic advisor, pressed her. Long fingers to her purple temples. The Valdoni could read minds and see the future. They were the Empire's spies and interrogators. But now Malthara looked sick and confused. "Admiral," she said in her strange musical voice, "I cannot read their thoughts. The humans. They are blank to me. How can this be?" Vextar turned too. "Stare at her. What do you mean, blank?" "I mean I cannot sense their minds at all. It is as if they do not exist. No race has ever been able to block Valdoni telepathy before." Vextar felt fear creeping into his heart. The Empire ruled the galaxy through 3 advantages: Korthic military strength, Zephyrian technology, and Valdoni mind reading. If humans could block telepathy, one of those advantages was gone. "Sir," Quindle shouted from his station, "the human ships are moving into attack formation. They're targeting our vessels." "Impossible," Vextar snarled. "Human weapons are primitive. They use gunpowder and chemical rockets. They cannot hurt our ships." But even as he spoke, the first human ship opened fire. Bright beams of energy shot across space. They were not primitive weapons. They were plasma cannons, more advanced than anything in the Imperial fleet. The beams struck an Imperial destroyer and cut through its shields. Like they were made of paper, the destroyer exploded in a ball of fire and metal. "All ships return fire," Vextar ordered. Destroy these upstart humans. The Imperial fleet began shooting back. Their energy weapons were powerful and had served them well for centuries. But when their beams hit the human ships, something strange happened. The shots seemed to bend around the human vessels. Force fields flickered to life, stronger and more efficient than Imperial shields. "Admiral," Quindle said, his voice shaking, "their defensive systems are absorbing our attacks. Our weapons are having no effect." On the UE's Titan, Jake Morrison watched the battle unfold. His ship was still transforming. More weapon systems came online every second. The fake mining equipment fell away to reveal the most powerful guns ever, built by human hands. "Amy," Jake said to his communications officer, "send a message to all Imperial ships. Tell them to surrender now, or we will destroy them." Amy nodded and sent the message. A few seconds later, Vexstar's angry face appeared on the main screen. "You think you can threaten the Empire?" Vexstar roared. "We have conquered 100 worlds. We have destroyed entire species. What makes you think your pathetic planet can stand against us?" Jake looked at the alien admiral with calm eyes. "Admiral, you made one big mistake. You thought we were stupid. You thought we were weak. You never bothered to really look at what we were doing. While you were busy feeling superior, we were learning. We studied your technology. We improved it. We made it better." "Lies, Vexstar." Spat. "Humans are barely intelligent. You cannot even leave your own planet without our help. Is that what you think?" Jake asked. "Let me show you what humans can really do." Jake nodded to Lisa Barnes at the weapons station. She pressed a single button. The UE Satan's main gun charged up with a deep humming sound. Energy gathered at the tip of the massive cannon. Then it fired. The beam that shot from the Titan was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It was pure concentrated plasma, guided by quantum targeting systems. It moved faster than Imperial sensors could track. It struck Vexstar's flagship dead center that the Imperial Dreadnought's shields collapsed instantly. The beam punched through the hull like it was made of cardboard. Emergency alarms screamed throughout the alien ship as sections began exploding one by one. "Impossible," Vexstar whispered as his ship died around him. "This cannot be happening." But it was happening. All around the solar system, Imperial ships were being destroyed or disabled by human vessels. The primitive mining fleet had become the most powerful military force the galaxy had ever seen. "Admiral," Quindle said desperately, "we must retreat. We cannot win this battle." Vexstar wanted to keep fighting. The Korthik never retreated, but he was not stupid. His flagship was dying. Half his fleet was already destroyed. The other half was trying to run away. "All ships," he said through gritted teeth, "withdraw immediately. Emergency jump to hyperspace." The surviving Imperial ships began to flee. They jumped into faster than light, travel, and disappeared into the void. In less than an hour, the most powerful fleet in this part of the galaxy had been defeated by the primitive. Humans. Jake Morrison stood on his bridge and watched the last alien ship vanish. Around him, his crew cheered and hugged each other. But Jake did not celebrate. He knew this was just the beginning. "Amy," he said, "send a message to Admiral Wells. Tell her the first phase is complete. Tell her it's time for Phase 2. Amy smiled as she sent the message. "What's Phase 2, sir?" Jake looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there the Empire was regrouping. They would be back with more ships and bigger guns, but humans would be ready for them. "Phase 2, Amy, is when we stop playing defense. Phase 2 is when we take the war to them." Jake Morrison stood on the bridge and looked out at the stars. Around him, men and women worked at their stations. They moved quietly and carefully. No one spoke unless they had to. The room felt heavy with waiting. The bridge looked old and dirty. Rust covered the walls. Broken panels hung open. Wires stuck out everywhere. Any alien who saw this place would think humans were poor and simple. That was exactly what Jake wanted them to think. "Commander, we have incoming ships," Amy Foster said from her station. She was young and nervous. Her hands shook as she worked the controls. "It's the Imperial fleet. 20 ships, maybe more." Jake nodded. He had been waiting for this day for months. The aliens were coming to collect their tribute. They wanted more food, more metal, more workers. They always wanted more. For 50 years, Earth had given them what they asked for. The aliens thought humans were weak and stupid. They thought Earth was just another planet to use and throw away. "How long until they reach our colonies?" Jake asked. 6 hours, sir," Amy said. "They're sending messages. They want to talk to our leaders." Jake smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "Put the message on screen." The main screen flickered to life. A large alien face appeared. It had 4 eyes and sharp teeth. Its skin was gray and covered in scars. This was Admiral Vexstar of the Korthic race. The Korthic loved war and fighting. They were the Empire's soldiers. "Humans of Earth," Vexstar said in a deep, rough voice. "I am here to collect tribute. You will give us double what you gave last year. You will also send 50,000 workers to our mining worlds. You have 1 day to agree, or we will take what we want by force." The message ended. The screen went dark. "Double tribute," Amy whispered. "Sir, we can't give them that much. People will starve." Jake turned to look at Lisa Barnes. She sat at the strategy station. Lisa was smart and tough. She had been planning for this day longer than anyone. Her job was to study the Empire and find ways to beat them. "Lisa, what do our spies tell us?" Jake asked. Lisa looked at her reports. "The Empire thinks we're harmless, sir. They have 20 ships here, but they're not ready for a real fight. Most of their weapons are powered down. They think this will be easy." Jake walked to the center of the bridge. Around him, his crew waited for orders. These people had trained their whole lives for this moment. Their parents and grandparents had worked to make this possible. For 50 years, humans had been lying to the galaxy. "Amy, open a channel to Admiral Wells," Jake said. "Yes, sir." Admiral Karen Wells appeared on a small screen. She was on Earth, in the hidden command center. Behind her, Jake could see dozens of people working at computers and control panels. This was Earth's real military headquarters. The aliens had never found it. "Jake," Karen said, "are you ready?" "Yes, ma'am." "The Korthic are here. They want double tribute and 50,000 slaves." Karen's face grew hard. "Not today. Not ever again." She paused. "Jake, you have permission to begin Thunder Protocol." Jake felt his heart beat faster. Thunder Protocol was the plan they had been working on for decades. It was the end of humanity's greatest lie. "Understood, Admiral. Beginning Thunder Protocol now." The screen went dark. Jake turned to his crew. "You all know what this means. Today, we stop pretending. Today, we show the galaxy who we really are." Amy looked confused. "Sir, I don't understand. What is Thunder Protocol?" Jake smiled. This time, it was a real smile. "Amy, look around you. What do you see?" "The bridge, sir." "It's old and broken." "No," Jake said. "Look again." Jake pressed a button on his chair. Suddenly, the bridge began to change. The rust and dirt fell away like old paint. Broken panels closed and lit up with bright displays. The walls became smooth and clean. New stations rose from the floor. The ceiling opened to show a clear view of Space. Amy gasped. "What is this place?" "This is the U-East Titan," Jake said. "The most powerful warship humanity has ever built. For 50 years, We've hidden it inside a fake mining station. The aliens think we're mining asteroids out here. They have no idea we've been building weapons." Lisa stood up from her station. Her panel now showed dozens of green lights. "Commander, all systems are online. Weapons are ready. Shields are at full power." "But how?" Amy asked. "The aliens watch us. They have spies everywhere." Jake looked out at the stars again. "Amy, the aliens think they're so much smarter than us. They think humans are just talking animals. So they never really looked at what we were doing. They saw mining stations and cargo ships. They never saw the warships we were building inside them." On the main screen, Jake could see the Imperial fleet getting closer. 20 big ships, moving slowly and confidently. They thought they were coming to bully helpless humans. They had no idea what was waiting for them. "Sir," Lisa said, "I'm getting reports from all over the system. The other stations are transforming too. Project Deception is working perfectly." Jake nodded. Project Deception was the biggest lie in human history. While the aliens thought Earth was primitive and weak, human scientists had been studying captured alien technology. They had learned how to build better engines, stronger weapons, and tougher armor. They had built an entire fleet of warships and hidden them in plain sight. "Amy," Jake said, "send a message to the Imperial fleet." "What should I tell them, sir?" Jake thought for a moment. "Tell them that Earth rejects their demands. Tell them that humans are not slaves. Tell them that if they want a fight, they can have one." Amy's fingers moved over her controls. "Message sent, sir." A few minutes later, Vextar's face appeared on screen again. This time, he looked angry. "Foolish humans. You dare to refuse the Empire? We will destroy your colonies and take what we want, Admiral," Jake said calmly. "You're welcome to try." The transmission ended. Jake turned to his crew. "Battle stations, everyone. It's time to show the galaxy what humans can really do." Red lights began flashing throughout the ship. The crew moved quickly to their positions. After 50 years of waiting and planning, the moment had finally come. Humanity was about to reveal its greatest secret to the galaxy.